Assalamualaikum dan hi. How are you doing? I hope you are healthy and happy no matter where you are. In this video, I will show you how to implement linked class in Java. I will start with simple data, which is I will use integer values. Then, secondly, I will demonstrate how to use a linked class dealing with object. Okay, let's start our lesson today. Okay, in order to use a linked class, okay, we start with at the main application, main method. Okay, the main method. Okay, what we need first is to create object of linked. Okay, for example, I use the linked as my object. Okay, create object of linked list. Stated in the linked class, just use default constructor. Okay, without parameter. Okay, next, after we have the object of linked. Okay, we need two variable which are data and num. Okay, the object data is a type object. We use when we want to get object from the list. Okay, so we need a variable to store temporary object from the list. Okay, secondly, we need integer variable. The integer variable is used to store the actual data from the object. Okay, we get the object from list, then we store in the temporary type object. Then we need to get the actual data from the object, which is our data. Okay, let's see. Okay, first of all, we want to add one item in the list. Okay, in order to add the item in the list, okay, we need to use insert at front, or we can another method we can use is insert at back. For example, I want to use insert at front. Okay, I want to store value 100 in the list. Okay, insert at front. So currently there is no any item in the list. Okay, so after that's it. This statement will create not in the list and store 100 in the list. Okay. So in our list right now, this has one list. Okay, currently we do not have any node. Okay, after execute this statement, then our node, the list has one node. Okay, with value 100. Okay, now we want to get and display the item in the list. Okay, now we have one item. So what we can do is in order to get the item in the list, we need to use either two method, which are get first and get next. Okay, so currently we have one item, then we need to use get first. Okay, so get the data first. Okay, in order to get data, we access through the object, the LL, which is the object of our linked list, and access the method of get first. Then object will transfer to data. Data is a type object class. Type object. Then we want to get the value from the object. Okay, which is 100. Okay, want to get the value. Then in order to get the value, we need to cast the value, casting the value from type object to type integer. Then assign to number variable. Okay. Then after that, we can display the value 100. Okay, let's see the result. Okay. After that, after display, and then we got the value from the list. Okay. As we can see, actually, there are two steps we need to do. Is firstly get the item from list. Okay. After we get the item, then store into the data. After that, secondly, you need to cast the object, to our desired type of variable, of data, which is integer value. Then lastly, we perform the operation. For example, we want to display the value from this. Okay, that's the step. Okay, now I want to show you how to get to store more data into the list. Okay. Okay, now I want to. Okay, currently we have one item in the list, 100. Okay, this I comment. Okay, because we then proceed to the next coding. Okay, next we want to add two others item. Okay, so I want to add um others item 200 at the front. Okay, want to add 200 at the front. Okay, I want to add 200. Okay, let's draw again. Okay, 200. Okay, so 200 become the first item. 100 will become second. And another one I want to add at last. Okay, with 300. So I want to make sure I want to add the new item. Okay, then lastly become there are 3 items in the list. Okay, let's do this. Okay, firstly, insert at front 200. Okay, insert at the 100, currently 100. Insert here. Okay, insert at front. Then it will insert 200 at the front. Secondly, insert at back 300. Okay, it will insert 300 at the back. Okay, so let's so now we have 3 items. Okay, now I want to display all the item in the list. Okay, just now I already show how to display the item with only one item. Now we want to display all involving many items, which is 3 items right now. Okay, firstly we need to get first. Okay, access the get first method to get the first data. Okay, in order to access all the item, we need to start to get first before we get the next data. This is the rules. Okay, as we mentioned in the methods of get first and get next. So we need to access get first data. Then we get the data assigned to data type object. Okay, after that, we need loop structure here in order to get next data, because we want to repeat for others data in the item in the list. Okay, after we get the data, then we need to proceed actually same as I explained before. Firstly, cast the data in the object type into the integer type. After that, we can print using integer type. Okay, after that we have to read or access the next item in the list. Okay, get the next item. Then the next item will repeat the same process as before, which is needs to cast the data and display and get others the next data, and until the data return now. Then it will stop data until return now, which mean will repeat until last item in the list. Okay, so here we have 3 items, then it will repeat until the 3rd item in the list. Okay, let's look the result after we execute this. So we have our data in the screen. Okay, firstly 200. Okay, we got 200. Secondly, second data is 100, and third data is 300. Okay, now for example we have one class, student class. Okay, we can see the example here. Student class, that the student class consists of 4 data members. Okay, ID, name, path, CGPA, and the constructor, default constructor, normal constructor. Okay, let's see the methods contained in this class. Okay, the setter method, set student, getter, get ID, get name, get path, get CGPA, to string method. Okay, that's it. The student class. Okay, let's see. Okay, first of all, create the object of list, linked list, the list. Okay, use the link the list object or the linked list. Okay. Okay, next, store data, get data from the user. Okay, now the data will be stored into the object first. Get the data, then assign into object class student. Okay, so get the data using the option pane. Get the ID. Okay, as stated in the student class, there are members, data members, ID, name, part, CGPA. Okay, so the ID and part needs to convert first, because it if you use the option pane, it will get data in string values. Then we need to convert in our desired data type. For example, here both our ID and part are integers, so we need to convert the integer pass int. Okay, next. Okay, the one convert to CGPA using a double. Okay, after that, create object of student. Okay, create object of student, and it will create object for student. So the object of the student needs to transfer into the list. Okay, right now. Okay, so we have the situation here. I try to show the actual picture here. Okay, we have a student object. Okay, student object have ID, name, and so on. Then now we want to add into the list. Okay, currently we have no item in the list. Okay, now in order to insert into the list, so the object student needs to add into the list. Okay, actually as we learned before, the list is comprised of node. Okay, so object needs to the data. So here is the node as we learned before as to section. Okay, data, and another one is address of next node. Okay, now the object student will be insert at data side. Okay, the side. Now we want to store the student object into the data in the list. Okay, what we have to do, we can use insert at front, or insert at back. For example, we use insert at front. Okay, so it means every time you want to add new, we use for this loop, it will insert at the front. Okay, for example, I want to add data of 3 object. Okay, I want to add 3 object. Student, firstly I want to object Abu. Secondly, thirdly, Mary. Okay, now I want to add into the list. Okay, first I want to add Abu first. Okay, let's look Abu. Okay, enter the ID of Abu, 110. Name Abu, part 1, GPA 3.4. Student ID, second student, Okay, part 2, GPA 3.5. Third student, Mary. Sorry, the ID first. Mary, part 3, GPA 3.2. List will become like this. Okay, firstly we add Abu. Abu first. Okay, Abu first. Abu. Yeah, Abu. So that we add first. Okay, currently firstly add one list, one item. Then it's Abu. Next, insert front. So insert Okay. Next, Mary. So Mary will be added first. Okay. That's it. Okay. In short, in order to summarize the step. Okay, actually, to insert data into the list, actually involved with 3 steps. Okay, firstly, get data from the user. Get data from the user. Okay, right after that, create object and store into the inserted object. Okay, create object of student. Example, in this case, we use a student. So data that we got from the previously and here assigned to the object student. Second, lastly, insert the object into the list. Okay, insert the object student object into the list. Okay, so example here, use method insert at front. Okay, so there are 3 steps involve 3 steps. Code is try to display. Okay, display the student, all the student in the list. Okay, firstly, we need to a variable. Okay, right now we are dealing with object, student object. So we need one object student set to now, and object data. Okay, what's the difference before we dealing with number, right? So we use object data and integer variable. Right now we are dealing with object from class student. So we need object class student and object from class object, data from class object. Okay, actually it's similar. Okay, firstly we get the first data first. Okay, get first. Then to get the next data, we need loop structure. Okay, get the data. Then the data that we get to transfer into the data type object. Then the data needs to cast to type student. Then after that we can access method from class student. Okay, S is the object of class student. Then we can after we got transform to type student, then we can use method in class student. Okay, example to string to display. Okay, yeah. Okay, to summarize the process of to display all students in the linked list. Okay, actually it's involved with 4 steps. Okay, firstly we need to get the first item in the list using get first. Okay, secondly we need to cast the data to our desired object type. Okay, for example here we cast the object data to student type. Then thirdly, accessing method from student class via student object. Okay, after that, after we got the data in student type, then we can perform any operation. For example here you want to display, then we can access to string in the student class. Okay, lastly fourth step, access the next item in the list. Okay, after process the first data, okay, then we need to get the next data. Okay, so this process will repeat until last item in the list. Okay, we will process next data. Then after get process the next data, then if the list has others data, then we will get next and next until the last data. So next code. To find the best student, count number of students in part 4, count the number of students reach 3.0. Okay, look at this code. So we need 2 variable part 4 and scorer. So here specific data, I mean specific data. Right now we want to get part and CGPA. So we need to find specific data in the object student. Okay, as we see before, student object comprised of ID, name, part, and CGPA. Right now we want to find the best student, count, and our student part 4 and count the number of student reach 3.0. Okay, right now firstly get data as I explained before. We need to use get first. After that then we can use get next to get the next data. Okay, so get first and get the data. After we get the data, then we can perform an operation transform to the student object. Then after we get the student object, then we can use the method in the class student. Okay, for example, we want to access CGPA, so we need to get use the accessor of the CGPA, get CGPA. Okay, to find okay, here you want to find the best student. Okay, CGPA, find the highest CGPA. Okay, secondly, in order to get find the highest best student, we find by find the highest CGPA achieved by student. Okay, secondly, we want to count the number of students, so we get part. Go to part 4. So the condition to find the part 4 student, number of part 4 student. Okay, next you want to count the number of students who reach 3.0 and above. Okay, how many of them? Okay, after that we access the next item in the list. Okay, then we repeat again the same process for the rest of list. Okay, so here display the result. Okay. Okay, to summarize the step of to find best student, to count number of students in part 4, to count number of students reach 3.0. Actually, the same with the to display as we demonstrate to display the item in the list. Okay, here it also involve for step. Okay, firstly get the first item. Also we have here get the first item. And then secondly, the object that we got just now, we need to cast to our desired object type. Example here, we need to cast to object student. Okay. Okay, after we get the cast the object to student type, then we can perform any operation within the student class, which is in step 3, accessing method from the student class via student object. See, as I highlighted here. All of this belong to step 3. Okay, next step 4, get the next item in the list by accessing get next. Okay, that's step 4. So after get the next item in the list, then we need to repeat again the step 2 and 3. Okay, for the next item. Then we will repeat until the last item in the list. Okay, next to delete student. Okay, to delete student, we can use remove from front or remove from back. Okay, in order to delete, okay, we can select whether we want to delete from front or not, from front or from back. For example, here, delete from front. Delete from front means we will delete Mary. Okay, we delete Mary. So to make sure. So as we learn, actually the delete method or the actual name, remove from front or remove from back, actually it will return the object. Okay, return the object. So we need to ready with the object data at the front of the statement. Okay, the list dot remove from front. So in order to display the data, so actually we still have the data. After delete, we return the data. Then we still has the data. We have the data. And as an example, we print the value, the information about the deleted data. Okay. Okay, that's it. So you can access this file. Okay. As given before, then you try to study and try to implement it. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sign off from now.